Ramachandraya Radhikaya Taralaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhakti. Start one more time. Okay, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so today we're going to talk about what is our real enemy and 3 ways how we can defeat that enemy. So people think that they have different kinds of enemies, anyone who acts against their desires or who attacks or commits some kind of violence towards them or who stops them from getting their aspiration or puts some kind of obstacle in their way. So we tend to think these are our enemies. However, in our scriptures, Krishna says that the real enemy is unbridled lust, which transforms into crowed wrath. So we learn this verse, we can say it together. Kama esha krodha esha rajaguna samudbhava mahasano mahapapma vidyaina miha verinam. So Krishna said, it is verily lust, unbridled sense desire, which transforms into anger, wrath, when our desires are not fulfilled. And that is like a blazing fire, which devours everything. And that is our verinam, that is our real enemy. So the enemy is not outside, in fact the enemy is within. In his Manasiksha, Raghunath Das Goswami says a beautiful verse, verse number 6, that starts Asat Chesta Kasta Prada Vikita Pesali Bir Iha, which means that Asat Chesta, endeavors towards things which are temporary, leads us to become under the control of 6 internal enemies. 6 internal enemies, which are described to be like dacoits that attack us on the journey of life. So those enemies are lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. Okay? Again, lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy. So these 6 enemies are described to be within us. And in order to conquer them, we have 3 different methods. So the first method is described by Raghunath Das Goswami in this 6th verse of Manasiksha. He said, Kurutam futkaran avati sayatatam manaita. With a loud voice, meaning with deep earnest prayer, you should call out for help from the guardians or generals of devotion. Those great souls who have come into this world by God's own desire, who are like Krishna's own messengers into this world, and who have come to help save us from the plight of this age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So we should call out to them with great love. It's said that if your house is burning and you go to someone and you say, oh, my house is burning, can you help me? And they cannot see it, then they won't be so eager to help you. They think you're just tricking them. But if you call out loudly, help, my house is burning, it's on fire, then people may come and help you. Or like you call the police and like, oh, can you help me? You know, someone's trying to murder me. Then they're not going to be so ready. They're not going to like instantly jump on it as fast as if you're like crying with great desperation for help. So it said that the first way to try to start conquering over these 6 internal enemies, lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy, I think that was all of them. Lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. Then you need to start to learn to pray deeply from the core of your heart. It's the same, and we pray while we are chanting the names of these personalities, or also while we're chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare. While chanting this mantra, we should pray. It said that chanting these names are calling out for help. And if we don't do them with great intensity or feeling of great urgency, then it will not act immediately in our life. So we should pray sincerely and deeply with genuine feeling of need, that we need help. Okay, the second method. This is said by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it's a quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tate nukampam sushamikshmano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvagva purbir vidadan namaste jiveti yo mukti pade sadhayabak. So this is the second way to defeat these internal enemies. Okay, so generally, when people see problems coming from outside or our environment or other people, and we project upon them this idea that they are against us or our enemies or our antagonists. So as long as we have this idea of projecting our problems outside to other people and then thinking that they are our enemies, then we're going to remain bound in the cycle of karma, action and reaction. These problems may appear like they're coming from outside, but really it's coming as a reaction to our own past activities. This is called karma, the law of karma. So in order to stop the cycle of karma, which will effectively defeat these enemies, because if we are freed from the cycle of karma, we'll also be freed from the ropes of, or like the bondage of these enemies. So in order to do that, we have to learn to tolerate. That's the first thing Mahaprabhu said. That the Tenukampam means we should tolerate all these problems that are coming to us from outside as really being our own problems or our own fault, and we should tolerate them and then learn to have this mood of humility and humility. So then Mahaprabhu said, Jive mukte padesa daibak. Then we can achieve salvation or mukti. So this is like the second method that is given. Tolerance. It said that once a sadhu was being abused by everyone. He was being thrown stones at and thrown dirt and mud and clay at. But he very happily tolerated, and he chanted this verse, Tatenu kampam sushimik shamano. Very quickly he was liberated. So this is the second way. Okay, now the third way is Haribol. So the third way is also another verse we just recently learned. Okay, and this is also in the Gita that Krishna says, Nitinji, what? Okay, Nitin says that. Nitin Prabhu. So we learn this verse. Man eva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshaya. Okay, bandaya vishaya sango muktyai nirveshaya mana. So these problems are coming from the agitations of the mind. All these enemies, the ultimate cause is the mind, but the mind is either our best friend or our greatest enemy. So it said, the mind that is our best friend is that mind that is under the control of the pure intelligence and the Atma, the soul. When we have brought the mind under our control and engaged it in auspicious activities that help us ultimately be delivered, then that mind becomes our greatest friend. So therefore it said, Man eva manushyanam. The mind for all human beings is the cause of liberation or bondage. Man eva manushyanam karanam, the cause of mukta or bandha, liberation or bondage. So then it said that bandaya vishaya sango, the mind which is always running after sense gratification, which is possessed by this, which is described to be like the spirit or the ghost of constant desire to gratify our senses, that leads us to bondage. So that mind is our enemy. Whereas the mind that is detached and always engaged in kalyan or auspicious activities, that is our greatest friend. So Krishna says, therefore you should try to learn to restrain the mind from the objects of the senses, and gradually the taste for these things will recede. But ultimately, the real and best way to conquer over this, so this is like a bonus. Krishna says you should do abhyas yoga. It means you should practice. So that means practice restraining yourselves, practice restraining your senses. When you have a desire to gratify your senses, try to restrain that desire and not immediately gratify it. Okay, this is the first one. Then practice tolerance, and when people are doing things against you, don't react and fight back against them. Instead, tolerate and think this is my karma and accept it with humility. Okay? But then an even higher method, so this is like the fourth method, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, beautiful verse, he says that Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinang raso varjang rasopyasva param drisva nivartate. That this thirst for the objects of the senses is innate with our body. As long as we have a body made of the five elements, then the senses, which are knowledge in acquiring senses or the acting senses, will always be eager to gratify themselves by tasting the objects of the senses. So the five elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, ego, they want to enjoy, like there's subtle enjoyments by the mind, intelligence, ego, and then there's gross enjoyments through the senses. Right? We want to enjoy those things, but the only way to conquer over those lower tastes, and if we don't satisfy those desires, it turns to anger, and the desire for them is lust. So the way to conquer this lust and anger is to develop the higher taste. which means Param Drisvani Vartate. How to develop a higher taste is described. Ambarish Maharaj followed Ekadashi. Ekadashi is a great method. And during Ekadashi, he engaged all his 11 senses in bhakti. And therefore, the senses, they need some kind of engagement. The mind needs some engagement. So you engage the mind in meditation, you engage the hands in service, you engage your sense of smell in smelling the fragrant tulsi offerings or flowers. In this way you engage all your senses. You engage your feet in parikrama. You engage all your senses, and then gradually the higher taste will come. And ultimately the greatest way to conquer lust, so the fifth method you could say, is also in the Bhagavatam. Vrikritam vrajaviduvir idam cha Vishnu shadanvito anasuyat ata varnayat yad bhaktim parang bhagavati pratilabhya kamam ridrogam asu apinoti achirena dira. So this is the actual, when you try to control yourself and you're still disturbed and you try to tolerate but you're not able to, you still react against people, you try to call out and pray but still you're not able to, then, and you try to develop the higher taste, you're still not able to. So what do? It said you should hear descriptions of Krishna's pastimes with the Brajabasis, especially with the Brajagopis. Hear those pastimes from someone who is of a high caliber of devotion. Hear them with faith, meditate upon them, and then repeat them. Engage your life in this Shravanam Kirtana Smaran, hearing, chanting, and remembering the pastimes of Krishna and the Brajagopis. And then this calm in the heart, material lust, will be sublimated into transcendental prem, divine love. Then it said, bhakti first arises, transcendental devotion, which is the real nature of our heart, will awaken within us, and then material lust will be automatically vanquished. So ultimately that's the best method. Okay, so we'll go to the next topic. Okay?